Robbins. I'm the Vice Provost for Undergraduate Education and Student Success and the Dean of the Undergraduate Colleges. I also have the honor to serve as the Executive Director of the Center for Changing Systems Power, and I am a professor in the School of Social Welfare. And it is my distinct honor to welcome all of you to our 19th annual First Year Read Commons Day. This is one of the favorite days on the academic calendar for me, where we come together, all of the first year students, faculty, staff, all of the people committed to your success. So welcome to this event. I know it's a little bit different this year. We're not sitting in the arena together, but just make believe you're sitting in the bleachers and there's lots of noise and a lot of people around you. And I think we're in for a great hour speaking with our author today. This year's book, Educated, I think is a book that has resonated incredibly powerfully with all of our students, with all of the faculty and staff. A number of people on the committee recommended Educated to us that this be the book that we use. I have to give a shout out to my wife, who actually read it when it first came out and said, you need to use this, you need to bring her to Stony Brook. And it's taken us a couple of years, but here we are. So back on September 13th of this year, Educated celebrated 132 weeks on the New York Times bestseller list. That is just an incredible accomplishment for any kind of book, but especially for any kind of you're in amazingly good company reading this book, because so many millions and millions of people have really read this book, talked about this book, and really resonated with them. So we are really pleased today to have with us the author of Educated, Tara Westover. She was born in Idaho. She received her BA from Brigham Young University in 2008 and was subsequently awarded a Gates Cambridge scholarship. I've worked with students trying to get Gates Cambridge scholarships, and so I know how hard they are and how prestigious that is. She went on to earn her master's in philosophy from Trinity College at Cambridge in 2009. And in 2010, she was a visiting fellow at Harvard. She then returned to Cambridge, where she was awarded a PhD in history in 2014. And she's really achieved the pinnacle of her academic career by joining us at Stony Brook today. So we're really thrilled that she's here. And, you know, I feel silly telling you about her because I think we know so much more about her or the pieces of her that she shared with us. And so it really, Tara, is an honor to have you here, to be with you and to get a chance to speak with you this afternoon. I've got some questions for you. I hope we can have some dialogue back and forth. Many of the questions come from our students who submitted them after reading the book. And under normal circumstances, they would have the chance to ask them of you, but we've selected some. We can't get to all of them, by any means. But so the first question actually comes from a student named AWAB in ACH Section 3. And he or she wanted to know if you hesitated before presenting the draft of the book to your editors and publishers, given that it was just so personal and that you were just putting your story out to the world and what that felt like for you.
Yeah, well, first off, I should say thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. To answer the question, though, hesitated is kind of an understatement. I more than hesitated. I guess I started writing the book, and initially I thought there's just no way that I would ever want to publish something that was so much of my life and was very personal and was about people I cared about. And I read something online that turned out to be really good advice, where someone said that when it comes to storytelling, and especially memoirs, what you should do really is write the entire story before you pass judgment on any individual chapter. And so I found that really helpful because what I found was that there's almost no individual story or incident of my life that I wanted everyone to know about. There's just nothing really that I wanted to share with the world individually. But once I had written the whole thing and had a kind of coherent story, then I could make a real decision about whether it was something that I thought was worthwhile and wanted to share with people. And I found as a whole story, it was a lot easier to think about and make decisions. But I am really glad that I wasn't just thinking chapter by chapter. You know, do I want to share this? Because the answer would have been absolutely not.
That's great. I think that's great advice, even for writing smaller pieces, to really lay it all out and then take a look at it rather than stressing each and every piece along the way. The next thing I wanted to ask you about, and this relates to Stony Brook and very much to the core of who we are as a university. We're incredibly proud of our diversity along all of its dimensions, including socioeconomic levels. More than a third of our students are Pell eligible, which means they come from lower socioeconomic levels. Many of them are supporting themselves as well as sending money home, contributing to their families' well-being. And in Educated, you write, and I quote, that the primary advantage of money is the freedom to think of things besides money, end quote. What would you say, because I know you experienced this, what would you say in terms of advice to our students who are trying to juggle their educational demands at the same time that they're working often multiple jobs, and now all of that complicated by the COVID pandemic? How would you suggest that they go about trying to balance all of those demands?
I don't know if I have fabulous advice on how to balance it because I think everybody's going to be different. But my one big thing of advice is to be easy on yourself in the sense that there's a really great episode of Hidden Brain actually, which is a podcast I enjoy listening to, and the episode is I think it's called Tunnel Vision, and it's about what happens in your brain when you're experiencing some kind of scarcity, and especially financial scarcity, and just the way that it becomes difficult to focus on other things for neurological reasons. And I think sometimes when people are struggling financially or something difficult happens in their home life, maybe they take an exam and they do badly, or maybe they take a course and they do badly. And the tendency, I think, can be to globalize from that event and say, oh, well, I'm just not very smart, or I'm not meant to be here, or I'm not a good student, or I'm not good at chemistry, or whatever it is. And I think it's helpful to understand what happens in your mind, in your brain, when you are experiencing that kind of financial hardship. Because life might be tough on you, might be really tough on you. Your life might be hard, but you don't need to be tough on yourself. I mean, you can let other things kick you around. You don't need to kick yourself around. So if you are having trouble in Chem Lab, or if you are failing in English literature or something because you're working 2 or 3 jobs, don't beat yourself up for that. I think you can kind of have realistic expectations for yourself. And that doesn't mean you're not going to struggle with this forever. Someday you'll graduate and you get a job, you can get a whole new set of problems. Congratulations. But so I don't think you can necessarily solve the problem of tunnel vision, but I think you can mitigate it. I think you can certainly not make it worse by globalizing or blaming yourself for what is just a physiological fact. Every human being that you've ever met can't function at their highest capacity under those circumstances. They just can't. So be gentle with yourself and give yourself time to focus on meeting those basic needs, and just don't add insult to injury, I guess.
That's incredibly important advice, and I'm sure that many of our students who are watching us today are really relieved to hear that. And because sometimes, as you know, in these situations, you feel like it's only you and everybody else has a good handle on it, and you're the one who's suffering, and which we know is not true. But I think it's great for them to be able to hear that from someone such as yourself. We received a number of questions from students, all coming together around the issue of what we call imposter syndrome. And many of our students, not unlike you, are the first to attend higher education in their families. Sometimes they're the first to graduate high school.